G'day. I'm in the Arkaroola panorama at Hawker. That is absolutely stunning. We're sitting here by the stream running and the magpie quite motionless. He's enjoying our talk, I'm sure. But I'm sitting here with Jeff Morgan, who is the artist that created this fantastic scenery. And he's put a creek bed in the foreground, and I'll give you a shot of it as we talk. But I just wanted Jeff to tell a few of his stories. I mean, it hasn't been an easy battle. You don't get to this point in your life without a few trials and tribulations. So, Jeff, here's your opportunity to share your story.
All right, I first became a Christian in about grade 5. There's a travelling evangelist come around school, and my parents weren't Christians.
Where were they?
In Rabra Forest.
Okay.
This is Rabra school. This evangelist come around, and he was only allowed to speak over the fence in the lunch hour. And he said, if you're interested, he'll send literature if you send him a letter, because he didn't have much to share. And so I did, and I gave my heart to the Lord. But
how old were you then?
I was in grade 5. Yeah,
10 or 11.
Yeah, something like that. And it was about the same time I had the first bout of encephalitis, and viral encephalitis, which keeps reoccurring from my life. It sort of stays with you, and it flares up. And with that, it screws with your mind. You slip into depression, and had to battle that all my life. And then I was house painting up in the station country, and I also had an industrial accident which coincided with another bout of encephalitis.
Wow. And
to cut the story a bit shorter, I tried to commit suicide. I had the gun in my up through here, 12-gauge shotgun. It went click instead of bang. And then I realised that God had a hand on me. And it was the first time, in my Christian walk that I actually earnestly prayed directly to Him, and really meaning it. And asked Him, what do you want me to do? I'm really miserable at the moment. And I had no right to be miserable, because I had a lovely young family, beautiful wife who loved me. But depression does that; it screws with your head. And But then I started having the dream to be an artist, which made no sense. It was when we went through the recession, when Mr. Keating said it was a recession we had to have, and to make a living as an artist didn't make any sense. But this dream would not go away. Every night, as soon as I went to bed, as soon as I went to sleep, the dream was so vivid. God was telling me to be an artist.
Wow.
And it got that way, I didn't want to go to bed. I was going to bed later and later. And but then one day I had a roster day off from the work I was working at the time. And the kids were playing with their paints, and I picked up, I said, give us a go at that. And I painted this picture from a photograph from one of my bush trips. And the mother-in-law was there, and she said, wow, that's beautiful. She says, when did you learn to do that? And I said, I didn't. And so it was very shortly after that there was a local art exhibition, and the art teacher from the Gladstone High School got to hear that I was painting a bit. And he came around to see what I was doing. And he said, I want your stuff to be in the exhibition. This is really good stuff. And at the time I couldn't afford to frame it. He says, no, I'll get it framed properly for you and take the money out of the first sale. And I thought, he must be expecting to get a fair bit. And I left it up to him. He framed them and he priced them. And on the opening night, we went to the exhibition, Miriam and I, and we just looked at one and we thought, Stroof, if we could sell one of these, this is going to be pretty good. And
do you remember what sort of money it was?
Yeah, it was about $3,500.
Wow.
And we sold 15 of them. I had 17 paintings in, and I was the only artist and they were all experienced Flinders Range artists. I was the only artist that sold on the opening night, and I sold 15 paintings.
Wow,
and
what a start.
So we realised that if you need time to paint, so we just left the job, and it was only 3 months after I first picked up the brush that I became a professional artist.
Wow.
And
3 months?
Yeah.
That is a gift from God.
Yeah,
surely.
and we've made a living. It's been tight at times, but we're really reaping the benefits now. So yeah.
You went up to Rawnsley Park for a while and set up camp there with a little shed or something, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. One of my uncles said, he was friends with the people at Rawnsley, and said, why don't you go up there over Easter? You know, there's a shed there, you can sell your paintings, and it went so well that I stayed on. So what started at Easter, I was still there in October. I was just going home on the weekends, but the black dog snuck back because I was away from my family too much.
Depression got you.
Depression started to get me, and that's when the miracle started, because I got down on the caravan floor one morning and said, Lord, if you really want me, hoping he didn't want me to do it anymore, you know.
Yeah.
If you really want me to do this, that big awful looking painting that I did when I was in Black Dog had a real bite of me. If that sells the first thing this morning, I'll know that
you mean business.
You mean business. And people say, you shouldn't test God, but he knew where I was mentally, you know, and he rose to the occasion, because when I opened the door, there was a chain holding the two doors, the front of the shed shut. This bloke actually literally pushed his way through the chain and pointed at the painting. He says, can you wrap that one up? I'll leave you in a minute. I want that painting. And
that was your fleece answered.
Yeah, but by the next morning, of course, the doubts had come in, and so I did it again, and exactly the same thing happened. And I just knew then. So,
wow.
And I just packed up. It was Friday morning it happened, and I thought, this is... So I just packed up. I usually stayed there to Friday night, but I just packed up, and I thought, well, if they're going to do this, I need to be close to my family, so perhaps I can talk Miriam into coming to Hawker. But unbeknown to me, that the Lord had been speaking to her that week too, and that she had come to the conclusion that they needed to move up, because we were making good money up here. And so I drove back through Hawker, and I called into the local store, and there was a bloke called Jacko who used to run it, and he was a very helpful guy. And I said, Jacko, do you know of any place for sale up here that we can buy or rent? And at the time there was a bit of a boom going on, and there was nothing, absolutely nothing. So I went for a drive around the town, and I knew Miriam couldn't take the heat too much. It's fairly warm up here, and there was this beautiful house there, one of the best ones in Hawker, and had ducted air conditioning and nice green lawn out the front, palm trees, the works. And I just flippantly said, that one will do, Lord.
You saw the air conditioner on the roof and said, that one will do.
Yeah, that one will do. And that went home. Sunday, walking to church, we met the real estate agent and said what we were going to do. He said, I forgot a buyer for your house. And he rang me up Monday night after I come back up to Rawnsley, that definitely, he says, it's sold. And I said, but we need somewhere to live. And he says, I'll drive up tomorrow. And he says, I've got ways of finding out if people are moving on. And he come up and he went into the local pub down here, and there was one bloke in the bar, but he started talking to the public and said, do you know of anyone who's going to move shortly, or anything, I'd be interested in selling a house, I've got a buyer for it? And that one bloke in the bar owned that house that
you pointed at.
And he said, I've got 3 months left on my contract at the hospital, if you've got a buyer, it's yours. And so he rang me up that night and said, I'll bring Miriam up on Thursday if you come in from Rawnsley, and 25 Chaseview Terrace, which meant nothing to me until I got there. And I drove up and saw them outside of this house, that I said, that'll do, Lord. And that just blew me away. I just couldn't believe it. But that wasn't the end of it. And we signed up, and that was our house. But and I was thinking, I said to Miriam, well, I'll go back out to work and open the gallery again. And I opened the chain gate, and then the next biggest painting, the same thing happened, come through, and I didn't even ask for that one, So, wow. And I just burst into tears. I had to shut up and go home.
You're a mess. The Lord promises in the Psalms, He said, He will fulfill the desires of your heart.
Yeah.
And He was following you all the way, even when you pointed to the house with the air conditioning.
It's interesting you say that, because I had a torrid time through school being a dyslexic, and always got, probably ended up with very low self-esteem, because I always got knocked, got knocked down. And when I was about I don't know, would have been about 6-year-old, and we pulled into the Rabbra butcher shop, and in our beat up old Holden, and this brand new beautiful Silver Shadow Rolls Royce pulled up, blue one, right alongside. And I said to my mum, I'd like one of them one day. And she says, oh, you'll never own one of those. And it's only this last year I saw one advertised. It was the same car, and I said, I've got to have that, and I've got it now. And that reminds me, when I'm down low, I go out. The Lord, I'm a brother with Jesus in heaven. I'm worth something.
Yes.
And people can think what they like when I drive around that Rolls, but that's why I bought it.
Hallelujah. He fulfills the desires of your heart from childhood right through to your adulthood. You've had some incredible miracles happen to you. Tell me about the time when the bank manager was going to take the gallery from you.
Yeah, well, we was in partnership with a guy in Melbourne, and the property bust happened, when things went bad over there, and neither of us missed any payments with the bank or anything. It was just, as an artist, you're put in a high risk category anyway. Doesn't matter how good you are at business, and we've always been pretty good. We've always kept our payments up. The Lord's really blessed us. But he just said, we consider you high risk now. We're going to close you down, and apparently fine print they can do that. Take their money back at any time without any warning, and it was so vindictive though, it was just so, and he was just determined to close it down. And I said, well, what will change your mind? He says, if you got 20 grand, this was on the Thursday, if you got 20 grand more into your bank by Monday, we won't take the key. And so we prayed about it, and the pastor in Adelaide, he prayed for us, and he said, I think I got the... he said, we'll organise a loan, and it was through their church, a low interest loan. And but the lady in charge, when we went down to pick it up, she'd had a nervous breakdown over some other issue. They couldn't find her; it couldn't be done. And but in the meantime, this beautiful young Romanian couple had raised money to send back to their church in Romania, and they'd raised this 20,000, and. But then they went to send it. The Romanian church says, "Oh no, we want 100 now, 100,000." They were greedy, and so they said, "Oh, we felt that we shouldn't send any." And they prayed about it, and they hadn't seen this pastor, even though they knew him, for about 5 years. But the Lord put it on their heart that it was needed there, and they rang up and said, "Oh, the Lord says that you need $20,000."
Wow!
And so I was able to get it, and got it into the bank just before the banks closed on Friday. And the bank manager still turned up here on Monday morning to close us down. And I said, have you checked the bank account? He said, you wouldn't have got it. And he got on his phone. He was really angry because he was wanting to close us down. Yeah,
and he could see that the transaction had taken place, and he had no right to close it in. Praise the Lord.
So I've been very wary of banks ever since. So.
Well... You don't borrow money from the banks, you buy it from the banks. There's always a price, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Well, no. Jeff, look, it's a fantastic story. And, if you're out there watching this video, you've got to have a look at these galleries up here in Hawker, in the north of South Australia, in the Flinders Ranges. He's got 2 beautiful dioramas. This is the biggest one. But he's got another one, and he's got several others that he's built. About every 5 years you did a new one.
Yeah, pretty well,
That's incredible. Is there any left in you, or have you...
I'd love to do another one, because it was, when I finished this one, it was a sense of... people say, I bet you're glad you finished, but I sort of felt it's probably the last one I can afford to do, because we're hitting towards retirement age now, and you've got to start putting some money away. This is 180,000 here, so
the shed.
Yeah. So you can't do it every day.
Can't do one of those every week.
No.
But no doubt you'll keep working. You're still producing smaller prints.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I just had 8 months where I couldn't paint because the encephalitis had come back, and it affected my nerves. That when I'd be painting, the brain would tell my hand to go this way. All of a sudden, it'd go the other way, just with no warning. And many canvases in the bin.
So the nerves get mixed up when the encephalitis comes back.
Yeah, well, it gets back, but you're left with the effects for about 2 years. It damages the nerves.
Right.
And some awful things happen. I used to enjoy riding motorbike up the bush, but you know, when it suddenly goes from AC to DC, it's a bit dangerous up on a 1000cc machine. But
yeah. And you recently sold your motorbike.
Yeah.
Which was a great joy for your wife.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so much that she had a celebration down the pub. Invited everyone along. So
we had a little party down at the hotel the other night. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's incredible. What a journey. And you were a house painter and a truck driver.
Yeah, a grader driver.
And overnight, or virtually, you became an artist.
Yeah.
In 3 months.
Yeah.
From the first painting to being professional.
It was really funny because when I was at Rhinsley, and I'd learned by reading and looking at other artists' work, and Tom Roberts' paintings, I loved them. And I was in Melbourne and went to the art gallery there, and they had a display of Tom Roberts stuff. And Harry gets the transparent water like here.
Yeah.
And I thought, now, how's he do that? I read about it and I thought, that doesn't really gel. And so there was a chain in front of this big painting, and the paint would crack. And I thought, if I get over there and have a good look, I could see the layers of paint of how he's done that. And I just got over there and I was just looking, and I just worked it out just as I got tapped on the shoulder and got thrown out of the museum, the art gallery. But I worked it out and I come home and this is the result. So.
How to make it look transparent.
The shearers and
yeah. And that's right, and a little picnic in the woods. I love that work, beautiful work. But yours also, beautiful work. Well, it's amazing. And how old were you when you started painting?
In my late 30s, yeah.
Late 30s.
Yeah.
Meantime, you've had a family. How many children did you have?
We got 4 sons.
Yep.
And now we've got 7 grandkids. So,
And they're married, and some of them live around here?
Yeah, they chose to settle around Hawker, three of the boys and their families, so that's wonderful for us. So
it looks like you'll be stuck here for a few more years.
Yeah, no, Hawker's become our home, definitely.
Lovely, lovely. Well, there you are, viewers out there. That's a bit of the story behind Jeff Morgan Galleries here in Hawker. You can check them out online. You can come up here and visit. He'd love to see you, and if you can get to own one of his magnificent works, it'll be a treasure to behold forever. Thank you, Jeff, and may the Lord continue to bless you as you travel and
thank you.
do your work. Okay. See you later.
Yeah, see ya.